Out that as a candidate, he also said that he was going to fight like hell for voting rights.
Wanda Mosley of Black Voters Matter has grown increasingly frustrated with the Biden-Harris administration because of how long it's taking them to make voting rights a top priority. As the president and vice president walked on stage at Clark Atlanta University, there was a clear tension in the air.
It's also time to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act.
Reciting quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King and the late Georgia Congressman John Lewis was met with applause from the crowd, mostly filled with politicians and dignitaries.
John Lewis said, "We want our freedom, we want it now." That was in the 60s. This is 2022. We still should not be fighting these same battles. These battles were fought when I was a child. I'm an old man now. Time's up.
But many of the same people who helped put Biden and Harris in the White House are tired of waiting for their right to vote to be protected. At issue, two voting rights bills that are currently stalled in the Senate. But this goes back even further to 2013, when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled on Shelby versus Holder. The landmark case targets Sections 4 and 5 within the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Section 5 prohibits voting districts that previously required voting tests in 1964 from changing their rules without federal approval. In 2013, the conservative-leaning Supreme Court ruled Sections 4 and 5 of the Voting Rights Act were unconstitutional. The court felt because barriers to voting were not as they were during the 1960s, states no longer needed federal approval to change voting laws at the state level. Since then, the Brennan Center for Justice reports hundreds of restrictive voter laws making it harder to vote were introduced. Last year, Georgia passed Senate Bill 202, which placed restrictions on absentee and early voting, among other measures.
I have heard your outrage about the anti-voter law here and how many voters will likely be kept from voting.
We know we face arrest for offering snacks and water to people who are waiting in line. We know that the subversion part of the bill is removing duly appointed members of boards of elections across the state for no other reason than not being white or Republican.
The John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act basically reverses the Supreme Court's decision and would require states to get federal approval before passing restrictive voting laws. The Freedom to Vote Act builds in added protections for voters, including expanding absentee voting. Mosley says she's not satisfied with Biden because she has not heard a clear plan to make voting rights a reality.
What would satisfaction look like to you?
I would have liked to have seen a concrete plan that said, I'm going to do this action on this day or by this time frame. I would like to have heard an actual deadline by which this is going to happen.
Another hurdle voting rights must cross: a Senate with Republicans and some Democrats unwilling to support the bills. A possible workaround would be eliminating the Senate filibuster, which is a procedural rule that requires debate on a bill to be cut off if at least 60 senators agree to do so. But that means you'll need members of the other party, which isn't likely in today's partisan political climate. Getting rid of the filibuster would only need a simple majority vote to pass the voting rights bills. But there's still the problem of a few Senate Democrats not supporting it.
Debate them, vote, let the majority prevail. And if that bare minimum is blocked, we have no option but to change the Senate rules, including getting rid of the filibuster for this.
He called out Republicans by name, but he didn't call out members of his own party, in particular Senator Manchin and Senator Sinema.
Spelman College junior Melina Watson was a bit more hopeful after listening to Biden's speech. But like Mosley and other skeptics within the Democratic base, she too feels the time for speeches has passed and we need to see some action.
Joe Biden's black voter base expects him to be, commanding, expects him to bear the same sentiments as we do regarding the necessity of voting rights legislation.
So this was a good speech, but I have yet to see him fight like hell.
Reporting for Atlanta Black Star, I'm Cavante Smalls.